Well, of those you're conscious. The time between the two, you're conscious of it. Time is in your awareness. Time is in your awareness. Who you are is not ruled by time. Who you are is not ruled by time. The body is ruled by time. The senses are ruled by time. The mind is ruled by time. Within time. But you are, you, awareness, is a content of time. Now that, you need to really look into this as a fact. That is why when you contemplate it, you do japa, either by doing japa or just repetition of a mantra and all that, you create a single thought, let's say. In this case, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. So it's similar, that's one thought. And it doesn't create any other thoughts. Om Namah Shivaya, so that guides the mind. And Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. Before the Om Namah Shivaya, you're there. When the Om Namah Shivaya comes, you're there. When the Om Namah Shivaya goes away, you're there. Is that right? The Shivaya, Om Shivaya comes, you're there. Om Namah Shivaya goes, you're there. There's a space, time, situation between Om Namah Shivayas. When you say it fast, you don't pick up. When you reduce it, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, and you are present all the way through. In your awareness. And they are because you are. You give them existence. And you create a space. And you abide in the silence, which is awareness also. This teaches the mind who you are. The mind needs to be taught who you are. And you know what? The mind finds out that it doesn't require anything to be. The mind recognizes that it is independent of what there's a form or there's not a form. Om Namah Shivaya is a form. And if it is not there, you continue to exist. The mind learns that and says, I am free. It doesn't say it, but the freedom it experiences, it carries over. It carries over. And then the mind is not afraid. Of what? Of somebody putting the plug out of the pond. Because I am not a pond. I am the ocean. Who I am does not depend on anything. Those depend on me, but I don't depend on them. Aham Purnasmi. I am complete. That needs to be known, and the mind needs to be with that. I think I sent you an email about how repetition of a lie, repetition of a delusion, makes the delusion be real. The repetition of a delusion makes repetition be real. Yeah. Well, and I put a commentary on that. What did I say in the commentary? Remember the commentary I made? You remember that? You saw it? You had a chance to see it yet?
I didn't open it.
I put a commentary. What about just as a repetition of a lie can make it appear, become real?
Yeah.
What about if we make repetition of a truth? A repetition of the truth, bringing the mind to see the truth over and over and over and over. It's the opposite, using the same laws. The same laws that made repetition of a mistake, of a delusion, real, to appear real. It's a rule. In other words, the mind is grabbing onto that, and the mind takes it as real. Well, because we see duality. But what about if the repetition of the truth is brought about over and over? The same principle that makes the mind bound is the same principle that makes the mind free.
I think if you repeat the lie in the real world or the physical world, you see, you're seeking a truth. That's why you repeat the lie over and over and saying, and you start accepting that it's a truth. That's the way, right? And especially the criminals and kids and all. Repeating a truth continuously, you already know it is true. There is no going or coming, there is no gap. So basically repeating a truth means you're reinforcing which is already known.
Which is a fact.
Repeating a lie to become truth has a change.
Yeah.
There's a big difference there.
Right, but remember here that what the senses show us appears to be true. That the moon rises. It's a fact. Sense-wise. Is that correct? So that is a fact. But then it is a delusion. And we take the delusion as real. We make it real because of repetition.
Yep.
Now become an astronomer. Recognize the earth moving and this and that and the moon. I said, wait a second. It doesn't. It doesn't rise. It is the earth moving. So now you start addressing that as the truth. You still see the moon rise. But you just close your eye. Yes, it rises. It really doesn't rise. Because now you know. Now the senses tell you it rises. And it's okay. From the standpoint of the senses, it rises. But the truth is, it doesn't rise. So here we're separate. And that is the delusion that the senses give you. The mind and the senses give you this delusion. That we are all separate. That you are a limited, wanting, not enough guy or girl. Now that is and you compare and all that stuff. Now you start nourishing your mind with a knowledge. For that, you need to be clear about the knowledge. There has to be some clarity about who you are and how is it that you are that and so on. Now you put that knowledge into the truth that you see. Like today we were on top of Mount Diablo. It's amazing, the vision. And you see the world, my God, miles that way in 360 degrees. It's just a beautiful sight, isn't it? And it is awesome. But then there's something more awesome. What is more awesome? It's glorious. That glory belongs to me. So what? What do you mean by that? Yes, that glory belongs to me. In what sense? Aham, the content of everything. And the mind tells me there's also other. That's fine, no problem, but I know what it is. Then this coveting mind, because he uses the word here, coveting mind, is a wanting mind. And the wanting mind resolves. And just enjoys the show. Understand that? And just enjoys the show. It's a show, it's a beautiful show. But it doesn't think it's real. It's a wonderful trick. I say, God, you're really doing a good job. But I know you're right behind the whole thing. And ultimately, you and I are one. There's not two. Because it is awesome to be up there. Have you guys been up there lately?
No,
You never been up there?
No, we went before,
Yeah.
but not recently, right?
Right to the top.
Yeah.
And you see 360 degrees. I took my camera and I took pictures in a sequential basis, and I took the flash off and I started taking pictures around and put it on the pivot so I could actually, as much as I could, try to keep it in the same thing. And I'm going to see if I can actually get a program that I can actually make a panoramic view. See if it comes out. But it's just awesome. But ultimately, you reflect upon the truth. And you bring the mind to the truth. And you know what? The mind resolves. And who can do that for you? Nobody can do it for you. Now, do you have to go to Mount Mount Diablo to know? No, you can do it right here. Just give it a second take. That is the purpose of the Satsang. To become friends with Sat. I don't know that I'm inventing that. To become friends with Sat. You mean what?
The truth.
Truth. You know, that's the word philosophy. That's what it means.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Philosophy means what?
Truth.
And Sophia, philos,
Knowledge of truth.
Yeah.
lover
So-
of truth.
Friend and wisdom.
Friend of wisdom. Yeah. Friend of wisdom. Do you know that? That's what philosophy means. Yeah, philosopher is someone that is a friend of truth. Satsang.
Yeah.
Satsang, you translate it in a way, well, I'm very liberal about it. I'm a Sanskrit guy. Sang means what? Get together?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Company of
Together.
Company
Being
of,
company of
of truth,
Sang.
that's correct.
Company.
That's what it means. Of course, you can actually sing and all that stuff, bhajans, and they call it satsang also. Which is okay because it brings you home somehow. But satsang means actually to unfold the knowledge, yes.
Yeah, my friend is, of course, he knows a little bit of Latin, so he's the one who explained. So I might have the words the other way around, but Philos and Sophia, he says, Philos is a friend, Sophia is a wisdom,
Mm-hmm.
or the other way around,
Yeah.
whatever it is. So
Mm-hmm.
friend
Friend
of
of
the
wisdom.
wisdom is philosopher.
It's a philosopher. That's correct. Anyway, so so I think this is important to look at and bring it, as you call it, the real world. You have to bring it to the real world. Why? Because this is the only world we know, and we have to pierce through it. How do you pierce through it? Jnana. Is that right? That's the only way to pierce through it. Jnana. And then what happens is what comes out. If you know what it's a word that you guys use. You know what that produces. It's a mind that abides. You know what I'm talking about? A mind that the one thing you don't want to change anything. What else? I mean, what else? What can you change? What else can you say about yourself? What else can you say about the universe? So you see that, and what obtains is you. Is that the right word to say it? What obtains is you. A you that is a you that is what you wanted all the time. A you that was behind all the pursuits you didn't know about. That is why contemplation is important. Reflection on this whole thing. Meditation is not just with your eyes closed. This is meditation.
Yeah.
See the idea?
Yeah.
Okay. So, let me read the last paragraph. Upon, on the other hand, does depend upon rain or some other water to be a pond. If a pond is dependent upon a particular spring underneath it, for instance, all that's required for it not to be a pond is for someone to put bore wells all around. The water table will go down, the spring will go dry, and there will be no water in the pond. A pond can also cease to be a pond if too much water enters into it. If its banks are broken, there will be water everywhere. No one will know where the pond is unless they're wading in the water and suddenly step into it. Therefore, a pond will no longer be called a pond if there is too much water entering into it or if no water enters into it at all. Such changes are possible for a pond, whereas an ocean undergoes no change whatsoever, regardless of whether water enters or does not enter. So what is a pond?
It's an object in this sense, comparatively.
The what?
Here, the comparison, a pond is an object,
No,
ocean is a
No, the
subject.
person who is not wise.
That's right. The pond is a person identified with the not self.
Not self.
No.
It's a subject, right?
Huh?
Not an object.
No, it's identified with the not self.
Yeah.
This is a vidya, a pond that takes mithya as satyam. That's a pond. And what is the ocean?
The self, the complete. The self, the
What's
complete.
the self?
Is someone that knows himself what he is. as upon identifying ourselves as this limited being, we're so dependent. We're always threatened.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay? But identify myself with who I am is what? There's nothing missing. I am all there is. So, then, what is there to fear? What is there to want? Nothing can add anything to me, nothing can take away from me. See the idea? So, the ocean is the wise person. The pond is what? The unwise person. And this unwise person, this is also the ocean. But he doesn't know it. See the idea? He's also the ocean. But he doesn't know it. He doesn't know it. Right? That's all there is. That's the only difference. If we insist on labeling ourselves, putting adjectives on ourselves, in other words, then we become complex human beings. And complexity most likely will end up in conflict. Is that right? Complexity will end up in conflict. You put together anything in terms of making it work, let's say a car, whatever. Yes, you have a thought.
Yeah, how can the pond be ocean? Then
Okay,
it becomes kind of...
now it is a mistake. The pond, okay, here the pond represents the Ajnani,
Yeah.
and the ocean represents the Jnani,
Jnani.
right? Now, let's take any Ajnani. He takes himself to be a pond. That's an error in judgment. He's nothing but the ocean, but he's not aware of it.
Okay.
You see?
It is just like ignorance.
That's right. So it is a pond, only from the start. Of course, in reality, it is a pond, it is not the ocean, okay?
Yeah.
I'm talking about in terms of but if you take it as a metaphor, if I act in the world outside as a pond, because of ajnana, because of lack of knowledge, okay? And I am going about, depending, always like this, sort of like that. Pretending, and so on, and so on, and so on. Then I'm acting like a pond. When, in truth, who I am is the ocean. But I will be a pond as long as I identify only with the not-self. So, if I'm a pond, it's because of avidya, ignorance of who I am. And when I'm acting, feeling, and performing, responding like a pond to the world, with fear and everything else. At the same time, at the same moment, even though I'm acting like that, I am the ocean really. I think I didn't know. Is that right? You pick up that, right? Is that clear? It has to be understood that even though foolishly we act, foolishly we respond, you always, that's what I say, and I can't remember how many times I said it. One thing about my teachers, especially Swami Dayananda, the greatness of this guy was he was possibly aware of my limitations as a human being. I definitely was. And of course, he picked up, my own sense of limitation. But he didn't deal with me like that. He saw me as the ocean. Yes.
We can't say I cannot say I'm a wise person, but I don't know.
But you are the ocean. There's nothing missing about you. Okay? There's nothing missing now that you're not aware of it yet. It's a different situation. But now you know even about it. Yeah. Now, that one that has been changing, and you're taking yourself to be, you're not. You are the one that's been, observing, witnessing all the changes, isn't it? That one is not limited by the different changes and the situations that went on. That is free. That is wise. That is wisdom. That's knowledge. Now, that you revert back and identify with woman, with this, with that, husband, wife, whatever, poor, rich, and all that, It's just the force of the habit. It's the old tape playing. You need to, in other words, the delusion has been repeated so much. It's very difficult to. So now you have to start repeating who you are, recognizing who you are. You are the one that was always there. And the limitations don't belong to me. They belong to the situations that happen to be there because of time and space. But I'm not that. I am free from that. That needs to be affirmed over and over. That is what satsang is about. And let's suppose, for example, satsang stops, and you guys say, you know what, it's cool. Or I say, you know what, I can't come anymore. I don't want to come anymore. You better start holding the satsang yourself, with yourselves. And do you have to have a group? You don't have to have a group. And you don't have to wait for Sunday. But if that's the dependency, then you got a problem. Isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like when Anita leaves, you know, I have to wait for her to come back to feed me, you know.
When you see the cereal and the.
That's right. I'll cook cereal. So the moment will come in which either you guys can come or won't be able to come anymore. I mean, you guys have to somehow see the value of this, but nobody can feed that into. You need to see the value of it. If you don't, that's your life.
Right.
Because the repetition of the illusion will eventually make it appear as true. Well, start repeating the truth until you start seeing that it's real. So but for that, you can only do it yourself. It's like my medicine. I got medicine for my ear. And the doctor can give it to me. I had to apply it myself. And he says, come Monday. And I'll go Monday. And I say, I'm going to shame. What? I was supposed to do it 5 times, I only do 3. No? You have to just live with the consequences of it. He can't do anything for me. All right? Let's do prayer to finish the class. Lord, lead us from what appears to be true to what is true. Lead us from confusion into clarity. Lead us, O Lord, from a sense of limitation to discover our limitlessness. Lord, that is whole, this is whole. From that whole, this whole became manifest. And if from that whole we were to take away this whole, what will remain would again be only the whole. Lord, let there be peace, peace, peace. Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mritryo Ma Amritam Gamaya Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudashyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kachit Dukha Bhavet Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Guravyo Namaha Harihi Om
Thank you.
All right.